Hey up, me duck YouTube. Welcome to another video with me, Rams fan YT, and today is episode 3 of season 1 of A History of Your Club. Today, I will be looking at Brighton and Hove Albion, which were founded in 1901. And 19 years later, in 1920, they were elected to the Football League's new Third Division, having previously been members of the Southern League. In the Southern League, they won their only national honour to date, the FA Charity Shield, which at the time was contested by the champions of the Southern League and the Football League, by defeating Football League champions Aston Villa in 1910. Let's go many years forward to 1972, because there's a huge gap in the history and nothing really interesting happened. Not many people really that bothered about that until Mike Bamber became chairman of Brighton from October 1972 until 1983. He famously brought Brian Clough to the club in 1973 and later appointed former England player Alan Mullery as manager. Brighton's life as a Football League club had brought little in the way of success and headlines until 1979, when under Mullery's management they were promoted to the First Division as Second Division runners-up. The 1982-83 season saw a wildly inconsistent start for the club, with victories over Arsenal and Manchester United, but on the other hand, they had heavy defeats. Manager Mike Bailey eventually lost his job at the start of December 1982, with Jimmy Mailer taking over as manager. He was unable to turn the situation around, and Brighton, after 4 seasons in the top flight, were relegated in 1983. Finishing in last place. Despite their relegation, that season, Brighton reached their first and only, to date, FA Cup final, which they drew 2-2 with Manchester United in the first match. Brighton's goals were scored by Gordon Smith and Gary Stevens. The final featured an infamous miss by Gordon Smith with virtually the last kick of the game in extra time, prompting the BBC commentator Peter Jones to utter the well-known phrase, "And Smith must score." However, Smith's kick was saved by Manchester United's goalkeeper Gary Bailey. In the replay, Manchester United won 4-0. Not as close, that one really, was it? After 4 seasons, relegation to Division 3 came in 1987, but Albion bounced back the next season. And in 1991, they lost the playoff final at Wembley to Notts County 3-1, only to be relegated the next season to the newly named Division 2. In 1996, further relegation came to Division 3, and the club's financial situation was increasingly precarious. The club's directors decided that Goldstone Ground had to be sold off to pay some of the club's huge debts. And manager Jimmy Case was sacked after a very poor start to the 1996-97 season, which saw Brighton stuck at the bottom of the league by a considerable margin. The club's directors appointed a relatively unknown manager in Steve Gritt, the former joint manager of Charlton Athletic. Brighton's league form steadily improved under Gritt, although their improving chances of survival were put under further threat by a 2-point deduction imposed as punishment for a pitch invasion by fans who were protesting against the sale of the Goldstone Ground. A lifelong fan named Dick Knight took control of the club in 1997, having led the fan pressure to oust the previous board following their sale of the club's Goldstone Ground to the property developers. By the last day of the season, after being 13 points adrift at one stage, they were off the bottom of the table and had to play the team directly below them, Hereford United. The game was in their hands. If Brighton won or drew, they would be safe. Brighton defender Kerry Mayo scored an own goal in the first half, and it looked as though their 77 league career was over. But a late goal from Robbie Rownell ensured that Brighton retained their league status on goals scored, despite Hereford having a better goal difference, as in the Football League at the time, goals scored took precedence. And Hereford's 25-year League One was instead over. The sale of Goldstone Ground went through in 1997, leading to Brighton having to play some 70 miles away at Gillingham's Priestfield Stadium for 2 seasons. Mickey Adams was appointed Brighton's manager in 1999, and for the start of the 1999-2000 season, the Seagulls scored a lease to play home games at the Withdean Stadium, a converted athletics track in Brighton, owned by the local council. In 2000-2001, it was Brighton's first successful season for 13 years, when they were crowned champions as Division 3 and promoted to Division 2. Adams left in October 2001 to work as Dave Bassett's assistant at Leicester, being replaced by former Leicester manager Peter Taylor. The transition proved to be a plus point for Brighton, who maintained their good form and ended the season as Division 2 champions, winning a second successive promotion, just 5 years after almost succumbing to the double threat of losing their Football League status and going out of business completely. Brighton were one division away from the Premier League. In May 2009, Knight was replaced as chairman at Brighton by Tony Bloom, who successfully secured £93 million funding for the new Falmer Stadium and a 75% shareholding at the club. Brighton's final season at Withdean was 2010-11, in which they won the League One under the management of Gus Poyet. The following season, Brighton changed their crest to a design similar to the crest used from the 1970s to the 1990s. This was to reflect on the club returning home after not having a stadium since 1997. The Falmer Stadium, hosted its first league match on the opening day of the 2011-12 season against Doncaster Rovers, who were the last opposition to play at the Goldstone game in 1997. If you get it, you do. If you don't, you don't. The game finished 2-1 to Albion. The 2012-13 season saw Brighton finish 4th and lose in the playoff semi-finals to the rivals Crystal Palace. Poyet was suspended as manager following controversial comments made in his post-match interview, and was later sacked as manager and replaced by Oscar Garcia. On the final day of the 2013-14 season, Brighton beat Nottingham Forest 2-1 with a last-minute winner from Leonardo Ulloa to secure a 6th-place finish. After losing to Derby County in the playoff semi-finals, seems all very good this, losing to Forest and winning to Derby, doesn't it? Garcia resigned, with ex-Liverpool defender Sami Hyypiä, who was appointed manager for the 2014-15 season, but resigned after just 4 months due to a poor run of results. He was replaced by former Norwich manager Chris Hughton. In the following campaign, Brighton went on a 22-game unbeaten run from the opening day to the 19th of December, when they lost 3-0 at home to Middlesbrough. On the final day of the season, Brighton travelled to Middlesbrough and needed to win to secure promotion to the Premier League, but a 1-1 draw meant 3rd and a playoff place, where defeat to Sheffield Wednesday was Brighton's 3rd playoff semi-final defeat in 4 seasons. Brighton started 2016-17 with an 18-match unbeaten run, taking them to the top of the league for much of December and January. They remained in the automatic promotion positions for most of the rest of the season and clinched promotion to the Premier League after a 2-1 win against Wigan Athletic at home on the 17th of April 2017. They broke their transfer record multiple times throughout the summer transfer window, with a previous club record signing of Jose Izquierdo commanding a fee reported to be over £13 million. Brighton's first season back in the Premier League was largely successful, with the club rising into the top half several times in the season. Despite falling to 1 point above the relegation zone in January, victories over Arsenal and Manchester United, again, what is it with Arsenal and Manchester United losing against Brighton, in the final months of the campaign, helped secure a finish of 15th. Brighton's second season in the Premier League was inconsistent. Despite a promising start, the team endured a poor second half of the season, achieving just 3 wins in their last 18 games. In the FA Cup, Brighton reached the semi-finals for the first time since 1983, losing 1-0 to Manchester City. Albion ultimately survived relegation with a 17th place finish, but Houghton was sacked following the end of the season due to a poor run of results. Following Houghton's sacking, Swansea manager Graham Potter was appointed as the new manager on a 4-year contract. The contract was extended by a further 2 years in November 2019. And from March 2020, the season was suspended due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Following a 0-0 draw with Newcastle in July 2020, Brighton secured a 4th season in the Premier League, eventually finishing the season in 15th. So, no, it's very short today. Hope you enjoyed, all you Brighton fans out there on YouTube. I will be doing something non-league related on Sunday, and then next week I will be doing about Burnley, I think. So, see you then.